Hello?
There it goes.
I was like, did I miss the mark? I looked up and like, all our viewership.
True.
Oh yeah, it's definitely true.
Alrighty.
Hello. We are making it. In case you're listening and you're watching as well, you'll notice that my microphone is on the other side because Marie likes to make a big deal out of me by hiding. Apparently, I hide behind a microphone.
You do.
I mean, I don't intentionally hide behind it, but maybe I do. I don't know. So I switched it over to the other side. I'm still trying to get used to it. So if it bothers you, it bothers me too. So just know that we're on the same page. But then again, it wouldn't be us if we didn't create controversy, because everything we seem to post in the last week seemed to get like interesting views and interesting point of views. That's for certain, especially because it's a lot of stuff that comes out of my mouth. And we all know what happens with that when I say something. So if you haven't had a chance to, definitely go out and check. Definitely go on to Talk as a Giraffe on our TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out the videos that we put up, because you might have a different opinion and you might read one of the comments and be like, who hurt you? You never know. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yes, it was...
But we say that and we give people grief, but at the same time, it's like we like the engagement. We like when people comment and we like when they do that, because it also brings, not only does it bring a different perspective, but it also brings eyes to the product. So, I mean, we welcome all of it, you know. If you're going to jump on there and be a dick, cut that out, sorry, then you're going to get punished for it. But, you know, we're never going to tell somebody not to comment or anything. We're just going to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, if you have an opinion about it, share it. We want to hear it. We love the engagement. We like the debate. We want to debate. If you want to debate, we can definitely debate. That's perfectly fine. I'll sit here and argue with you till I'm red in the face. It is what it is. But
the person that did comment, we feel that probably did not decide to listen to the whole video before posting the comments, so it was very reactive. And if you guys can find it, we'd love to know your
kudos to your husband, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. He was like, wow, lady. Just his comment alone was, wow, lady. And I was like, yeah, wow, indeed.
I was pretty proud of him.
Yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance, definitely check it out, and then leave your comments. But watch the whole video because it's very funny.
Yes.
And it brings a whole different perspective to things. And if you know me, you'll understand why that video was made. And well, it was made because it was on the show. Sorry, but you'll know why we put it out there, and you'll be like, oh yeah, he definitely has a way of like doing stuff like that. So anyway, that notwithstanding, we have a fun topic for you, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to go with the same old adage. Marie, what do you want to talk about?
All right. So we thought that it would be a great time to kind of get into quite a fun topic, I think, for both Dylan and I. So today we're going to be talking about overthinking and also understanding the unwritten rules of friendship, because there are kind of a ton. Sometimes it's different between female and male friendships. So we're just going to kind of jump into that. And also, I am an overthinker to the day that I don't know, just all of it, all the time is running through my brain.
Oh yeah, I'm a serial overthinker too. That is one of the things we have in common. And you know, the funny thing is though, I just thought about this. We've like dabbled in it a little bit, and we've we've like kind of just tiptoed over. No, I don't want to say tiptoed over, but we've actually never explored our friendship. We've talked about the encounters we've had and like how we were intertwined, but we've actually never actually had a real conversation about our friendship, because I mean, it just sort of just happened. So I think this is also I think going to be an interesting topic, because I think it's going to give us an opportunity to explore that as well, because we've actually never talked about that.
That's true.
We've talked about like, you know, different things that have happened, but we've never actually explored that. So this could get really interesting really quick. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so let's think about a time that you overthought a friendship moment, either like misreading a text, overanalyzing an invite. And I kind of have one about Colin, actually, so I thought I might share that.
Yeah.
In the very, very beginning of our relationship, like we were not dating, we were kind of in that that friend stage, trying to figure out if it was going to be something more. And I remember I shared a little bit about this a few episodes ago, but the night that we reconnected, we exchanged phone numbers, but for some reason we were talking on Messenger when it wasn't really Messenger, it was still attached to like the Facebook messaging.
Or that.
But okay, so as girls, and you get a text message from someone that you like think is cute or whatever, and you get the little dots popping up, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can see that he's typing and he's responding and he read it. Oh my gosh. I had sent him a message, and I just basically said, like, so good hanging out with you. Can't wait to do it again. Here's my number if you want it. And I freaked out because I like never put myself out there like that. And I was actually with my friend, and we were sitting on her bed, and it was like 2:00 in the morning. We had just, gotten home. I was spending the night at her house, and we're sitting on her bed, and I'm just like glued to my phone. I'm staring at it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden the dots pop up. And I was like, he's typing. And I'm screaming this in her house at 2:00 in the morning. And I ended up throwing my phone across the room because it was like just so much excitement that he was already responding to me. Oh my gosh. My friend was dying from laughter. And then we eventually had to go find my phone because I was like, wait, what'd he say?
Now I can't find out what he said to me. And the response back was, okay.
So that was kind of like a good overthinking moment, but So what about you?
I mean, I overthink. The problem is I overthink everything. It doesn't matter what it is, what it costs. I always overthink it. Any step that I'm going to take, regardless of what it's going to be, it's always overthought. Because I always look at the different scenarios and what could possibly happen. I don't know if I've ever actually
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian. I don't know if I've ever actually, as far as a friendship goes,
or a situation.
I mean, mostly, honestly, and the people are gonna get tired of me beating this horse to death. But I'm gonna do it's normally in like the dating realm for me, because I mean, you beat somebody and you're trying to figure out if you're gonna be friends or not, but then you're like, I don't really know. And I know how to be friends, but you're like, I don't really know what to say, what to do, what type of invite. Like I have no problems being friends with people. It is, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you meet somebody, it's like, all right, well, obviously there's something, they wouldn't, if they didn't I guess if they didn't like you or whatever, I don't know, they wouldn't have exchanged pleasantries or given you the number or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's always one of those things where it's like the overthinking moment comes of like, how do I make it seem like I'm not attracted to you, but I do want to be your friend no matter what. And then it's like, so, a lot of it comes, I guess it's not really necessarily the dating world. I think it's just navigating friendships with women, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't want to sound weird or anything, but it's like, with guys, it's a lot different. Like, we don't really maintain communication all that well. Some guys do, some guys have a group chat. Not one of those guys, right? So it's always kind of difficult. I do think I overthink when it comes to talking to women in general, just because it's like, how do I make it sound? How do I not come off as weird?
Okay.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, we all know me, right? Everybody who listens to this knows me. I have a lot of quirks to me, and I have a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. A lot of it in that nerdy realm, right? You've got the D&D, you've got the wrestling, you've got I won't even put pool in there, because pool is I think is on a different realm, I guess, because it's still, everybody likes pool. Doesn't matter who you are, you love pool, or you should. If you don't, then you're doing it wrong. Then you're not living your life properly. But then again, the problem is, if you love pool, you're also a degenerate gambler. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't want to say degenerate. We'll get to that. But you've got different things that I'm into, and it's like, how do I tell you I'm into these things without you being like, this guy's fucking weird?
Well, is that your own feelings?
That's definitely all my feelings. Oh, that's definitely my own feelings. Absolutely, it is. So it's like,
we'll stop that.
Well, okay, cool. I'll just flip that switch off. Thanks. Thank God that happened.
Sound advice.
Yeah, right. Thank God you're here. But yeah, I think it's the overthinking of how much can I share with you before it's like, we're not really going to be friends or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sorry if that doesn't make sense. I'm just trying to figure out a time where I overthought, because again, I overthink every scenario,
well, so
no matter what.
Let me ask you this: when you like let's say you meet somebody
Okay.
out in the wild.
Definitely the wild. That's for certain.
And you like when you overthink, how soon do you introduce that side of yourself, or do you like keep it?
Oh, I keep it wrapped
locked
up. I keep it wrapped up as much as possible.
What if they're interested in it?
Then I'm hoping they'll ask or they'll find out, or if it just kind of comes up in conversation.
You're just like waiting for them to.
I'm kind of waiting for a good time to say. Or
what if they feel the same as you?
About what?
About like, ooh, I don't want to tell them that I'm interested in this because they'll think I'm a nerd.
I mean, that's the thing is though, is like I feel like you have to like feel that comfort level before you share that type of stuff. Okay. Sometimes it can be looked at.
You're not wrong.
Interesting. Like there's a certain percentage of people that's interested in that type of stuff. But what are the odds that you met that same person? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or, you could easily, and here's the other thing too, you can easily judge a book by its cover. Fortunately, you're not supposed to, but you can. You can easily look at somebody and be like, and the way they talk, and, you can analyze that stuff, the way they talk, the way they dress, the way they present themselves. And you're like, there's no way that when I say that I'm a huge wrestling fan, that she's not going to look at me and be like, what the hell? Or I'm going to talk about D&D and she's going to be like,
you still don't know that until you say it.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying, though. You don't know. And then it's like you're 6 months in and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Well, that's up to you, sweetheart. I don't know what So does that make sense? So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you can look at somebody and be like, they're absolutely not going to like any part of what I'm saying. So I'm just going to keep this to myself until they ask, because you present it too soon and all of a sudden, all these misconceptions. Like,
I'm trying to think back to like anything that happened like between Colin and I, or I don't know. I mean, I like to write, and that's something that I've never shared with like anyone. Like I write anonymously on this website.
You told me about that.
Yeah, it took me a while to even bring it up to anybody else. And I think the only reason I brought it up is because like I was so excited that I hit #1 in one of my categories, and I was like, oh my God, nobody knows I do this, so how do I celebrate? Anyway,
celebrate the small victories and just celebrate internally.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was pretty dang happy about it.
I've kind of figured out that like, and the other thing too is like when it comes to situations like that, I think that also like involves like loving yourself as well. I thought about this the other day because I usually don't like to do stuff by myself. Okay. I'd rather be exploring and venturing with somebody else, regardless of who it is. I'd rather be doing something with somebody else. And so I don't go out by myself, right? But then, I go to a movie. A couple weeks ago, I went to the movie by myself. And then and then a couple of weeks before that, I went to a park by myself and just kind of hang out by myself, just by myself. I don't normally do stuff like that, right? I'd rather much be with somebody.
It's so weird to me because I hang out with myself all the time.
But
I'm proud of you.
I can see the difference is like I can be in my room and be at my home and be by myself and I'll be fine. But being out in public and and just like hanging out by myself, that's different for me.
Okay.
I guess if that makes sense. I don't know.
No, it totally does. It's just like I'll go to dinner by myself. I'll go to movies like all the time.
I normally don't do that just because I don't know why. It just never like occurred to me that I want to just do something by myself.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, it's tremendous. I was like, why the hell have I never done this before?
Because people look at you weird, but
well, you feel like people look at you weird, right? Yeah, you look at people like, no. You see all these couples, and then you're like, I'm the only guy here, or I'm the only person that's by myself.
I actually went to a movie, not to derail you at all, but I went to a movie by myself one time, and the lady next to me was there with somebody else, and it got to a part of the movie that was like really sad, and I mean, I was crying, she was crying, and she ended up like putting her head on my shoulder and just like patted my arm, and she goes, I'm so glad you're here.
You're sitting there going like, I don't know how long you guys have been dating or how long you guys have been together, but hey, opportunity knocks, brother. Let's,
Here you go.
Yeah, just gotta do the whole, hey.
Redirect. No.
Just reach over, tap him on the shoulder. Hey man.
This is your chance.
What are you doing? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Again, that doesn't happen to guys, by the way. A random woman does not be like, I'm so glad you're here. That doesn't happen. So I can't relate.
Yeah. It's that neon sign above my head that's like, Hi, pick me for all the randomness. But anyway, I'm really glad you got to hang out with yourself. Tell me more about it.
One of the things I actually thought about this after I went and saw the movie and stuff. And in one of the books that I was reading, it's called Facing Codependency by um, P.M. Melody. It's a therapy book, for lack of a better term. And in and a lot of people talk about like you can't love somebody or find somebody to love you if you don't love yourself, right? And I sat there and I was like, okay, so technically taking myself on a date would be a form of loving yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way I looked at it. Because again, I don't do, like I said, I don't do stuff like that. And I don't, so I was like, all right, so I could see that as a form of loving yourself. Does that make sense? Because we all know I don't. I have issues with loving myself and liking, I don't want to say love, but liking myself because I have all these quirks and these weird things I think is weird. So it's like, I don't really like that about myself, but I can't change it because I actually do like it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but other people might not like it, so it's like, okay.
Okay.
So that was just kind of like dawned on me. I was like, okay, so I guess I need to start doing this more and trying to figure that out more, I guess. Does that make sense? I guess.
Yes. Taking yourself out, loving yourself, accepting yourself.
Yeah, accepting yourself is a big one. That's always.
Let me hide under the table because I'm yelling at you, but I have a hard time with it too.
That's how our friendship works. You gripe at me about stuff that I do, and then it's like in the background, it's like, oh, but I don't do that. And then here's me over here not calling you out because you do it. Because it's like, you want to be the pot or the kettle?
You're like, really?
Yeah, I was like, that's an interesting topic. Would you like to be the pot or the kettle?
I know. It's kind of crazy. My chair is super it's not locked, so I feel like I'm just rocking in and out of the frame.
What's really funny is like you're gonna go head over heels and backwards on this show, and it's gonna be everywhere. And they're gonna be mad and be like, "We're gonna cut that out." I'm like, "No, we're not.
No,
you are going viral,
if
sweetheart."
You let all of my viral moments go crazy.
Yes,
you get one.
This would be the one moment that sets us over the top and be like, "You guys gotta watch this show because these people are unhinged." She fell out of her chair. What are you talking about? She just happened to fall out of her chair.
The thing is that like if I fall right now in this moment, I'm sitting crisscross applesauce, so my knees are gonna catch the table. So I'm just gonna be suspended. You're gonna have to come help me.
That's gonna be awesome. I don't hope that happens, but at the same time, I will not be offended if it does.
And I have a feeling that you'll laugh before you.
Oh, I will. I'll probably die from asphyxiation from laughing so hard, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do after that. Wait, then who's going to upload this?
Can someone press the play button?
But that's right. Who's going to upload the show at that point? You're going to be stuck. You're going to be suspended in midair, and I'm going to be on the floor unconscious because I laughed too hard.
Count on you.
Call the authorities.
Send help. Okay, well, do you want to hop into unwritten rules of friendship? We're going to talk about some unspoken friendship rules, and we're going to give both perspectives of do you do this as a male or do I do this as a female, and if they line up. So the first one is be there in tough times. That is an unwritten friendship rule. Friendship isn't just about celebrating wins. It's about showing up when things get rough. Yes, 100% I do this.
I make a conscious effort to do that. And the reason I say I make a conscious effort to do that is because most guys will not admit about the shortcomings and the quote unquote failures, right? No matter what it is, they won't bring it up because they think that nobody cares or they think that it's just on them to figure it out, right?
Way of the world.
Yeah. So if I feel like in a guy's world, we don't bring that stuff up with each other until it just happens to come up. And then it's like, well, we need to shift. We need to shift here because you got a lot going on, man. Let's talk about that. I'll give you a prime example. My buddy, I have a friend of mine, he just he and I have been friends since freshman year of high school.
Okay.
He's gone through a lot. Sometimes I don't know what he's gone through until he tells me, and it just kind of happens. And then it's one of those things where once he tells me, we just kind of shift, and I'm like, all right, hey man, what's going on? Tell me everything. Let's kind of let me do my best to help you figure this out. I'm not a professional. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but hey, let's talk about this. Let's figure it out, And then it goes from there, Whereas I feel like with most women, that kind of pops up. It's just a text message of this just happened.
Yes and no. Yes, in the right group, but there are some groups out there that you're like, for lack of better words, trying to be on their level. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so you really don't want to be like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm going through that. You just kind of like pretend the grass is fake, but it's greener. You know? Does that make sense?
What do you mean by the grass is greener? Like it's happened. Like for example,
I'm
it's happened
going-
already, but you're okay with it, even though you're not okay. You're just playing that you're okay with it.
I am going to put my Facebook face on and pretend like I am doing just fine because I don't want them to know. I don't want them to think that I am not up to being in their friend group, if that makes sense. Like, have you ever heard the saying that the grass may be greener, but that's because it's fake? So, using that, if I'm trying to get in with this group that is like way above my level, like I should not be hanging out with these people because I can't afford it, I can't keep up with you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like this kind of situation.
All right.
And then I'm gonna not burden them with what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, if anything's wrong, because I want them to think that I am perfect. Like I am the perfect friend. Invite me in, love me, speak to my inner like acceptance.
Okay. That makes sense. However, I think you might need to analyze that friendship at that point, or what you're about those needs.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you get that type of if you don't get that type of response, or
I'm
sorry,
not saying I do this.
No, I know. I'm just
playing
saying
devil's advocate here.
in general, like that if you're trying to get in with this type of crowd or whatever, and you definitely need to examine why you want to do that. Because I will tell you, from a guy's perspective on that, there's a whole like masquerade going on of guys who's when you like surround yourself with people better than you so that you can be better,
Absolutely.
which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But there's also this whole thing out there that makes it seem like you have to leave your like other friends behind. Whereas it's like if you want to be better, you have to surround yourself with all these other people, and your friends that don't want to progress, or you don't just want to play video games all day. You just got to leave them. No, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that, because there are two separate sides to that. You want to progress, you want to get better in life, you surround these people. If you want to live, you want to laugh, then you keep those people around.
Well, we should amend that, because yes, I agree, but you also need to allow yourself to let go of people that don't want you to grow, like people who want you to stay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because like even if they've been your friend since you were 2 years old,
yeah, there's only
they're not gonna continue growing with you, or if they've hit a plateau and they refuse to
move forward. Yeah. Well, no, that's different. But I'm just saying, like, you can still be there. You can still be their friend. You can just be like, I have to move forward. We can still be friends, but just know that this is my path. If you don't have to follow this path, the same thing that I'm doing, but just know that
it's gonna look a little different.
I'm gonna look a little bit different. And if they're not okay with that, then again, you have to examine that. But yeah, being there for somebody in tough times, I mean, you just like I said, I feel like it's different for guys, and because we just don't admit to those type of faults or those type of things. And then the problem is, though, when we do admit to it, it's other things have also come about. Like their ex started this, and all of a sudden it just kind of snowballed from there. So then it's like 2 or 3 weeks later, we've got 30 other things going on, and we're still trying to deal with that first thing that happened. That's the problem. I think that's different. That's where it comes into play for guys, is all this other stuff starts going wrong. And it could also be the mindset of, like, this happened, well, now this is happening, now this is happening. And then it's like that. So, if you're going to do that, definitely don't wait for things to snowball.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, then the problem is, though, then you start feeling like a burden, even though you're not, because you've got all these other problems. And you're like, because your friends will get overwhelmed. It does. They get overwhelmed because, like, dude, you've got all this stuff going on. I feel for you, but I don't know how to help you because you've got all this other stuff. I can help you with some of this, but
I have a friend who will ask me advice, and then I'll give advice, and then the next week it's the same problem, the same issue. And I'm like, I can only give you the same advice, or I can only say the same thing in a different way so many times before I'm like, I can't do this anymore. If you're not going to listen to me, I really honestly don't want to listen to your problem that I've already given you 14 different ways to, not to fix it, but to address it or to feel about it. You know what I mean? I don't want that to make it sound like I'm like, take my advice or we're
Yeah.
not going to be friends. But
You
if
asked
you
me
are
about
not
this.
actively trying to change
Hmm.
your problem, I do not want to hear it.
That's a good point, because if they continue to create the problem, and they're asking you how to fix it, you're like, I just told you how to fix it. You just don't want to do it because you don't like the outcome that's going to come with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would rather suffer in this manner than not as just then nip the problem and move forward. That's the only way you can do this. Like,
It's hard. Of course, it's hard. But
yeah,
if you really truly wanted to fix it, or you really truly were feeling some type of way about it,
yeah.
then you're going to make that progress. But if you stay stuck being the victim, then
And I do have friends that will come to me and ask me what I would do or what they should do. And I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to tell you what I would do. And if you choose not to do that, that's fine. But if you come to me next week with the same problem, I'm going to tell you, we've already talked about this. And which means, and then also that's like, you asked me for my advice because you look to me in that manner. And now I gave you some advice to how to handle it. And you chose not to, but you're asking me the same problem. Now you're just being disrespectful to me because you continuously ask me the same question, but this is what you need to do. Right? Like, I had a friend my friend was,
sometimes. Oh, sorry.
he was going in circles doing the same thing over and over again, with his behavior. And I was like, honestly, you need to see a therapist. That's what you need to do. I was like, I'm not saying you have to, but you will get more help out of a professional
Yeah.
than I will help you. And that's the only advice I would give him, is like, you need to talk to somebody professional. I love you and I have no problem being your friend, but you need to talk to somebody who's a professional, because they will help you navigate all of this shit and they'll help you understand it.
And I think it's important to say or insert here, like, you can have a consultation with a therapist, and that's exactly what it's for. If you do not vibe with that person,
Yeah.
it's totally fine to pick a different one or
Yeah.
request a different one. Don't just think that you're stuck with the first person they give you, because you're not.
I cannot tell you. Okay. And so I cannot tell you how many times I have told somebody, I was like, and I feel bad saying you need therapy because I feel like that sounds rude, but I was like, you need to see a therapist because they are going to be able to help you no matter what. Right.
Mhm.
Then they tell me this horror story about this therapist that they had,
Right.
and that they don't trust therapists anymore. And I'm like, you realize there's like 10,000 different therapists in this world, or it's just too expensive. And you know what? And that's completely, you know what? And at the end of the day, that's completely understandable.
People might be surprised how much is covered under insurance, though.
And you know what? Do have a caveat for that, because there are some practices that are going away from insurance.
Really?
Yeah, because insurances are taking longer to pay. And this is not a knock on like health insurance or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, for example, my therapist, at a certain point when I was first seeing my therapist 2 or 3 years ago, at least it was covered at least 90%.
Okay.
And I would only pay like $20 a session. However, it was fantastic. Absolutely. And then, however, the second portion after that, I would be paying $90 a session because my insurance would be only covering a certain amount. And then eventually they didn't stop covering it. They just stopped paying out in a decent time frame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
just how interesting.
Yeah. So then eventually my therapist was like, I'm not going through insurance anymore. He was like, it's cheaper for people. He goes, I can't. They're delaying me, and they're making it hard, and they make it hard for me to do my jobs. That was his prerogative, and he was like, so if you want to find somebody, and I was like, no. I was like, how much is it going to be? He was like, it's normally this, but I'll cut you a break on this. Sold. I don't really care. Let's just continue doing this. And so, so I totally get the whole it costs too much money kind of type of thing. But I would absolutely 100%, if you have insurance, you need to ask those questions. And I don't want to say I hate when people do that. I hate when people say it's too expensive, or I had this horror story about this with this one therapist who, they told somebody about I was like, that was one therapist, and if you didn't report them, that's on you. You should have reported them.
Yeah. Gosh, I had one of those experiences.
I luckily have not had one of those experiences. I had, like I said, Frank, my therapist that I've had for 3 years, never had a bad problem with him. Now, I've been in a chair cussing him out a couple of times because he's told me some things that I didn't want to hear. And we've talked about some things that have come up that I didn't want to hear. And I'm just like, fine, you're right. But yeah, and that's one of the things that irks me about people who absolutely need the help, but it's like I don't want to because it costs too much, or it does, or it's gonna, I just had this bad experience, and a part of me was like, then I don't want to be around you. If you're gonna make that type of decision, then I don't want to talk to you. Like I want to be your friend, but I don't want to talk to you about this anymore because that just sounds like a cop out to me, and it just makes it sound like you're not trying to get better, and I don't like when people are not trying to get better. Does it make sense? Because it's like I myself am evolving. I'm still trying to figure out
Yeah.
who the hell I am and what I'm doing. And I am enjoying it and I'm having a great time with it. It's still like there's still some things that I'm just like scratching my head about because I'm like, I wouldn't have done that, but here we are. Now how do I fix it? There's no fixing it. But when people make that leap, it bothers me a lot because it's like you need to do this and it helps out a lot. So, and I don't want to sound like I'm unsupportive or anything like that, but it's just try. Well, I tried once and I had this bad experience with my therapist. There are 10,000 other therapists in this world that you could connect with. Try one of them.
There's a lot of free program. Like I
Yeah.
went through, I think it was back then, it was called like Caring for Women. They offered free counseling. And that is literally the only reason that I got through all of the crap I went through with He Who Must Not Be Named. Otherwise,
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have gotten through if I had done that.
And that was free.
Yeah, mine definitely wasn't free, but I would absolutely pay the same amount that I'm paying now. I would pay at that point in time for that help because it's had a tremendous effect on me. And I don't know if other people have noticed it. I hope they've noticed it, but I've noticed it, and it's like, okay, maybe this is working. Still not good at taking compliments though, which is also another unwritten rule of our friendships. But we'll get to that. Let's move to the next one. Be there. Okay, so no, keep their secrets.
If they confide in you, it stays between you two unless it's something serious that requires intervention.
I feel like this is going to be two sides of a coin here because I'm not sure if it's different for guys because I don't. Well, actually, no. You start. You start because I want to hear this perspective from your perspective on this.
I agree with that description wholeheartedly, and I've been in that situation before where yes, I will, if we're friends and you tell me a secret and you tell me to keep it a secret, it's a secret. But if it's in endangerment to you or your life or your well-being, I will 100% speak up. I had a friend actually in high school. She is still mad at me to this day about this, but she told me a secret that she was self-harming, and she showed me like her marks and stuff, and I was like, I struggled with it. She showed me at like third period or whatever. I eventually
Was this in high school?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I eventually decided to go talk to my counselor, and I was like, listen, I was told this by a student. I don't feel comfortable about this, and I think she's in endangerment. And they pulled her out of class. They called her mom. Her mom got involved. She like never spoke to me ever again, but she did stop self-harming.
Did she figure it out? But did she figure out? I think the better thing is, did she figure out
That
why
I
she
was
was
the one that
Did she actually? Was there?
Yeah,
Did she get any help?
They put her. She had to go visit the guidance counselor, her guidance counselor, because it depended on where you fell in the alphabet, who you were assigned to. But yeah, she had mandatory meetings and she worked it out. She never spoke to me ever again. But
that's what happens when you do the right thing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like when something like that comes up, people are going to get pissed at you no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
but it was just something I couldn't keep. I could not hold that. And I think at the time we were going through a lot of the friends of Rachel stuff, and just like all the anti-bull, just I don't know. I couldn't keep it in, and I do not regret it, but I do miss that friendship.
You do wish that you'd have been like, I'm sorry I did this, but I was worried about you.
I told her I did it. I was like, as soon as I left the guidance counselor, I went and sought her out, and I was like, listen, I need you to know that I told the guidance counselor, and she like just immediately raged, mad at me, tried to punch me, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
For me, on my perspective, if you tell me something in private, I'm going to keep it to myself. I've always subscribed to the term. If anybody's an NCIS fan, the original one,
I do like NCIS.
one of Gibbs's rules was the best way to keep a secret is to keep it to yourself. Second best is tell one other person. There is no third best, right? So, like I said, best way to keep a secret, keep it to yourself, right? Or you tell somebody else, right? If you tell me something like that, then I'm going to keep it to myself, no matter what, except for in that particular case, if you're hurting yourself or you're talking about hurting others, then I'm definitely going to say something. There was a point in time where I had a friend of mine who had a clear drinking problem.
Okay.
An absolute clear drinking problem. And he would not admit that he had a drinking problem. He would make excuses as to when he was drinking and stuff like that. Like he was like, I only do it on when I'm not going to work, or when I'm, when I don't have to get up early, or I have to go to work or whatever, or when I get off of work. I don't, The problem was his personality would do a whole 180 shift when he did that. And it would just be not terrible, but it would just be like that. It would just be a huge momentum shift. And I didn't really confront him about it. I just told him, I was like, hey man, you really need to get a grasp on this and just kind of figure out, like, I'm not saying you have to stop drinking, because I don't, I've definitely cut back tremendously, but you definitely need to figure out, because you're worrying a lot of people. People are worried about you. Eventually it just it went away. I don't know if he fought that demon, or if it just went away, or if he just stopped, but it scared me, because there would be, so like he and I never had a problem between us when he did that, right? It was always somebody else would reach out to me and tell me what was going on. And then I wouldn't like confront him about it, but I would be like, hey man, I'm seeing these messages that you're sending. I understand that you're angry, and I understand you're frustrated. I was like, you can't send stuff like that, because it's terrifying. You're scaring people, and we talked about it, and we eventually stopped doing it. I don't know, like it was never like we would it was terrifying, because it's like, I don't really know how to address this, because I didn't really put a lot of effort into it, because the person that was reaching out to me was also kind of a shithead that kind of like, for lack of a better term, kind of put him in that spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when this other person that put him there would reach out to me, I would also have like this whole like, what do you want? Like you did this, you deal with it. You caused this problem, right? You're the one that put him there. You're the one that did this. You deal with it, right? But then I would see some of the patterns of the behavior that he was doing, and I'm just like, oh, now I need to talk about this, because I was like, you're getting into dangerous territory of almost like, I mean, for lack of a better term, you're getting into that stalker harassment mode of being that type of person. And I was like, I'm not saying you have to change. I'm not saying you have to do anything. I just like, you just need to stop doing this. Like, I'm not saying you can't feel that way, but you need to stop doing this, because it's borderline like abusive behavior, and it's gonna hurt, and you're gonna hurt yourself, or you're gonna hurt somebody else. And it terrified me, because I didn't know how else to. I didn't know how else to deal with it. Sorry, my phone locked in. I have my notes put up. I mean, he stopped doing it, and he got better about it. I just don't. What terrifies me is I did tell them that they needed to get help. They need to get therapy, so they can understand why this is happening. Right? I don't know if they ever did that. I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm hoping that it's bowled over, I guess. So I would do anything I would do anything for that person. I would absolutely do anything, because I'll never forget this same person. So we hadn't talked in several months. We had we didn't have a falling out, but we lost connection because of the behaviors that he was presenting. And I'll never forget, I was having an issue with a family member, and this family member was in a crisis, and their life was in danger. And I was in the same town as this guy, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I called him, and immediately when I called him, he picked up the phone, and I said, hey man, I know we haven't talked in a while, and I can't think of anybody better to help me with this. And he's like, what's going on? And I told him what was going on. He goes, are you going to come to my house, or am I coming to yours? And I was like, I'll be on my way now. And I got there, and he helped me through all of it. He helped me get him. I had to go get a defibrillator to revive this family member. We had ambulance. We had to jumpstart his car to get it back to us. We drove it back to the town, to the city that we were in. He did all this and helped me out with that. And I was like, well, we haven't talked in several months, and you were immediately put all your stuff down. And he was like, I got to be at work at 9 o'clock, but I don't give a shit. Let's fix this. I will always go to the ends of the earth for that person, no matter what. Because like I said, we hadn't talked in several months, and he was just like, what can I do? What can I do? You know? And I was like, yeah, you've done some pretty sketchy stuff, but I can't let that can't slide, because you just immediately just stopped all of what you're doing and just like came to my aid. I told him, I was like, I can never repay you for this, because this is crazy. The amount of work that we had to put to get to fix all of this.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll never, ever, ever be able to repay him back for that. And I can't, so that's the real truth, is like, even though he was going through those problems and we were kind of in different paths, as soon as I called him, he was like, what can I do for you? I was like, I can't, like, I don't have anybody else that I could have, like, I don't know who else I could have called at that point in time to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, I need to be a better friend, because obviously, so, but I mean, we're still talking, and I think he's perfectly happy, which is great, because he wasn't happy before.
That's good.
So keep the secrets, but if they're going to hurt them or they're going to hurt somebody else, intervene. Because if it costs you a friendship, who gives a shit? If it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. I can't like stress that enough.
Number 3 is no keeping score. Friendship isn't about who called last or who owes who. It's about mutual care, not a tally.
That is 100% a fact, but I also think it is also a missed opportunity for a lot of people. The reason I say, well, I don't want to say missed opportunity, but I think it's also a missed mark, because I've noticed this, a lot of like friendships, being an adult, actually, this is worse than being a kid, like being younger, like being an adult, is you reach out to somebody, they don't respond, and you're like, I tried, balls in their court, they can do whatever they want with it, right? That's not the case. You need to continue to reach out and continue to do the same thing. I am bad about that. I'm terrible about that, because if I message somebody and they don't message me back, I don't message again. I might send a follow-up text maybe a couple of days later or a week later or whatever, and if they still don't respond, I don't do anything. I just let it go, because it's like, you obviously don't want to talk to me. You obviously don't want to talk to me. That's fine. I get it. And also, it's like, well, I don't know what their schedule is, and they didn't tell me my schedule, or they didn't tell me their schedule, so I'm going to assume they're busy because they're not responding to me. Don't do that. I'm terrible about this, because I'm also like afraid to be that guy who will be like, hey, it's like 9 o'clock at night, but I'm going to call you because, just want to talk to you, see how you are. But I don't do that, because I'm like, I know how busy you are, so I'm just going to wait for you to call me,
Yeah, I think for me, this is like...
I'm sorry, I'm not getting on my phone. I am going to turn my auto lock on my phone off so it doesn't continue locking.
The way that I read this one, I feel like it pertains to maybe like going out to dinner and your friend pays for it and they're like, don't worry about it. And like they truly mean it, instead of sending you a text that's like, hey, your portion of the bill was $4.14. Can you Zelle me? Because I've also had that happen.
That bothers the hell.
Or I'm like, I got French fries. Like, what? Anyway, I sometimes I struggle with this, because I am the person that is truly, I don't know, I have such an issue. Colin tells me that I give people too much.
Oh yeah.
And
you absolutely do.
I'm like, well, I can't take it with me when I die, so I might as well just give what I can. And unfortunately, I give too much.
Yeah.
Of myself, of my money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. So with situations with like quote unquote keeping score, like I don't ever keep score. Like my thing is, like, if I have the money, I have no problem splurging on a lunch with my friends. No problem doing it. Right. It's always been my thing. I enjoy doing it, because it's just a fun thing for me. Sometimes there are certain occasions where I'm in a pretty good spot, and I would much rather spend that time with those friends as opposed to by myself. Like, for example, on my birthday, I decided, instead of people buying me beers, I was going to buy my friends beers, right? I went and bought a tower of beer. I got a bunch of cups, and I said, help yourselves. This is what I want to do for my birthday. And then it was fantastic. I love doing that.
Yeah.
I truly enjoy just that type of just doing that, right? Can't always do it because, things happen and the world is crazy, but right. But yeah, if you are in a friendship and you're like, I bought dinner for this person, he owes me, then you're doing it wrong. You can never, and even if you're in a friendship with somebody, in a relationship or whatever, right? You can't do that. You can't keep tally marks on certain things. It's just a give and take type situation. You just got to keep going. I don't think it's fair to keep tally marks against somebody because they don't know. They have no clue. Like you bought this dinner, and then 2 weeks later you're like, hey, you owe me for this. You made that decision, not me. I could have easily paid for my own dinner, right? But it's different. It's like, hey, you got me last time. Let me take care of this. That's different, And immediately, if you do that for me, I'm like, no, or I'll take care of it. No, you did it last time. I know, but don't worry about it. Then it becomes an argument of, no, I'm doing this. I'm guilty. I have one of my best friends. Anytime they come to town, we will argue over who pays the check. Eventually I just stopped. I just like, I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to do it, go ahead, because we just waste more time. It's like, fine, then I'll get the next one or whatever, because neither one of us want to admit that type of person where it's like, let me pay. No, let me pay. Let me pay. No, let me pay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever. Eventually I just gave in. I was like, all right, fine. Or I'm just quicker about getting the check, snatching the check up.
Sometimes you have to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Funny story about that. So we have in my one of my groups of friends, we have the parents of one of our friends who passed away, and every now and then we'll go and have dinner with them and kind of check up on them and see how they're doing and stuff like that. And the husband is notorious for paying the check. Not that that's a big deal. That's a big deal, but it's one of those things where like we literally make a plan to be like we have to like snatch that check out of his hands because he'll do it in secret. Like what he'll do is he'll tell the waitress to come bring in the check, and then he'll bring all the checks and he'll just go up and pay for it on his own, and he just won't tell you until you're like, "Ew." So we have to like, no. So we like immediately as soon as the waitress comes, we're like, no, come over here. Don't worry about them. We'll talk about it.
My dad does that too.
Yeah.
He's like, he'll sneak off and go pay the bill, and we're like waiting for it.
And then it never comes. You're like, hey, can we get the check, please? Oh, it's already taken care of. Like when we were in Padre, when I met Colin's dad for the first time. And then I was like, I've never met this man before in my life, ever. And then I was like, hey, can I get my check, please? Oh, it's already taken care of. Well, he took care of everybody, right?
Yes.
And I'm just like,
we were not expecting that.
I was like, I appreciate that.
Very, very kind.
Oh yeah, that was insane. I was like, I appreciate that. And then I never saw the man again. I know, and I was like, actually, no, I think he left after he did that.
Yeah, so he flew in to take Colin deep sea fishing.
I'm so mad that they didn't get to do that.
I know, and then
that still pisses me off to this day.
The tide was too high or something, so they couldn't go out. And then he was like, all right, well, I'll just go ahead and like book my flight out. So we went and had breakfast at Pier 19, and then it burned down overnight.
That was awesome. That was funny. Like, I remember y'all telling me about that. They were like, we were just there yesterday.
Oh my gosh. What?
No, go ahead.
Number 4, support their successes without jealousy. Be genuinely happy for them when they achieve something, even if you're struggling in that area. That is a tough cookie to swallow, but also so, so, so important.
I love this one.
Yeah.
Because not only is it something you need to do, but also pick that person's brain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they are doing something better than you, right? Pick their brain.
Yep. Figure out how to get there. How did they do it? Right? What did they do? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And how can I shamelessly steal what they're doing? I do that all the time. I cannot tell you the amount of times that somebody's told me something and I'm just like, oh, writing that down. And if they're your friends, like a true friend, they'll be happy to share that knowledge with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or they should be. Yeah, definitely support, like regardless of what it is. And you know what, honestly, and then celebrate the small stuff too. Mm-hmm. No matter how different it is. It could be anything, monetary, whatever. Always celebrate that stuff because it's like it's a milestone and it's achievement and it's a part of growing up, for the love of God.
It's so exciting for that person. The last thing that they want to hear is there are people in my life who are just doing great things. I wish I was at that point, and
Right.
we have a plan to get there. So I just cannot express how genuinely happy I am for all of these people. I wish I was on that same level, but to each their own,
Sometimes it takes people longer to get to that. It is what it is.
I have always never been on time.
Never,
So,
and I have never done anything the way it's supposed to be ever in my entire life. I have found, like in my work, for example, I have never done anything in the path that it needs to be done in for absolute certainty. Like, how did you get here? I have no clue. I'm going to level with you 100%. I don't know why. I don't know how I got here, but here I am.
being jealous about your friend having success is like just absolutely wild to me.
Right.
Like I guess I get it, but I'm like, why? Like why is your immediate reaction good instead of yes.
Yeah. How did he get that and I'm not?
Yeah.
Who the hell cares? And sometimes another thing too is like,
because you're asking that question instead of how do I get there?
Yeah, you're asking why did he get that? Well, how do I get there is a better question. And also sometimes it's just a timing thing.
Right.
Like, I remember like a couple of years, like last year, not last year, last year around this same time, I was trying to figure out, another path in work. And I was just I wasn't stuck, but I was just kind of like, I need to move on and do something different, in my line of work. And I just kept sitting there going like, what do I do? What do I do? Why am I not getting this? And my supervisor literally looked at me and said, it's just a timing thing sometimes. Sometimes when the time is right, it's going to happen. And sometimes the timing is not right. Right. And that's a hard pill to swallow because it's like, no, the timing is right now because I need this shit. I want this. But that doesn't make sense. But it also makes a lot of sense because it's like, it's you applied you did something at the right time and it just happened to snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, we've put up almost 100 something videos of this excursion, of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 3 that we put up just so happened to get anywhere between 800 and 2,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
It was it just so happened. It just so happened that the thing that we covered on that certain time frame ended up being something that many people wanted to see, right? Or that they found. I don't know.
Or they wanted to fight back with us.
Or they wanted to fight on it. I don't know, right?
But it was so fun.
Yeah, so it just happened that way, right? So I am guilty about this though. It's not a jealousy thing. It's also like when it comes to like my married friends, that's also one of those things that's probably one of my least favorite things because I'm just like, I don't care. Like, that sounds so bad, but it's like, it's like, I'm happy for you. I'm very happy for you. What do you not care
about? I'm confused.
I don't know. Okay, maybe it's not, okay. Maybe not caring is the right thing, but it's like I see like the happiness in these relationships and these friendships or in these marriages, and I'm just like, it just kind of like I just sit there and go like, oh, so that's what I'm missing out on. Okay, well, how the hell? Why the hell? Or then you see somebody, or then you have somebody who's like, it's like going through relationship after relationship. You're like, hang on a second, wait a minute. I'm sitting over here working my ass off, and you're in your 3rd relationship in 3 months. What the hell? I am very guilty about that type of jealousy. Well, not really jealousy, but I'm just like, hold on, why am I getting? Well, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, why am I stuck at sea in this whole thing? Like, why?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just like, well, actually, here recently, I'm just like, man, that doesn't sound fun to me. That doesn't sound fun.
I mean, as you said earlier,
and that's probably gonna sound like, oh, he doesn't like it. Like, he doesn't like his married friends. No, I love my married friends. It's just sometimes like the whole lovey-dovey stuff. That's when I'm just like, why do I have? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I guess. No. Okay, cool.
Yes, it does. I'm just like,
I'm literally just digging a grave for this one. I don't listen. It sounds bad, but it's
you're
like,
lucky Phoenix isn't here.
At the end of the day, I love my friends. It's just sometimes when you spend a lot of time around married couples, sometimes you just kind of get that feeling of, when's it my turn? Why can't I find that? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's where when I start getting, so what happens is when I start getting to that point, I separate so quick it's not even funny because it's like, that's not fair for them. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm recognizing that I'm doing it and it's like, I'm not mad at them, but it's like, okay, you're obviously being a dick about this and you're going to present that pretty soon because that's how you operate.
Yeah.
Because you love to project and put things out in the open and make people the shock value the shock value alone about stuff. You love to do that, and I know for a fact you know what I'm talking about because you lived it. So it's like, okay, then I'm just gonna like separate myself for a few minutes.
I have to go.
Which I have a lot of red flags. That is definitely one of my red flags. Being around married.
I'm not sad to say that I'm with Dylan. Okay, Josh. All right.
I mean, sometimes it just becomes too much, and you're just like.
I personally am not a big PDA fan. Me as a person, and we talked about this on our love episode or whatever when Colin was here. I just am not a PDA person. I've never been.
Yeah. I'm not, and the thing is, I'm not either. But I think it's also like one of those things where it's like when I see it in public, I'm just like, why did I have to see that? I don't know. Maybe this is the one that gets me canceled. I don't know.
Not big on PDA either. Yes, Josh. Yes. It's like strange.
I can
PDA?
Yeah.
You're just saying that you don't like it and
I don't like it, but
subject your future wife to that?
Well, if my future wife, is that something that is a big thing for her? Or whatever, I could probably.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
if
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I could probably be okay with it because it's like, okay, this is what you want. This is what you like. I hate it, but guess what? I'm going to do it because you love it and it's going to make you feel better. Yeah, this one kind of got off the rails for a second.
We're already an hour in and we're only halfway through our list. This whole episode is off the rails a little bit.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's jump to the next
one.
Let's
absolutely jump to the next one.
Respect their boundaries. Everyone has their own comfort zone. Respect them without making it a big deal. I think that goes hand in hand.
Oh yeah.
Faux show. You're out again.
That's what we do. Yeah, respect the boundaries, but also make sure you set the boundaries.
Oh, that is very important.
Because if you're in a friendship,
and hard.
Yeah, if you're in a friendship and you don't set those boundaries and that person crosses those boundaries, you need to be the big enough person to be like, hey, like we can have this discussion, but we can't have this discussion ever again. For right now, anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I am currently struggling with this.
Oh yeah.
With a particular person in my
life.
Yeah. And I don't know what to do. I have zero idea how to navigate forward. And it's just driving me crazy. I went to an event a couple weekends ago and I wore something that was out of my comfort zone a little bit. And said friend told me some really not nice things. And it blew my mind because she's usually my hype girl. And I was like, wait, what? And I don't know. It just and then later on she came up to me and was like, hey, are you okay? Like, your face is showing your inside emotions. And I was like, I can't have this conversation right now.
You did this.
So I kept it to myself, throughout the whole night. And then later on, I ended up telling Colin about it. And he got really upset. And I was like, I just don't know how to navigate forward. Like, all these things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not set the boundary, and I've just let the boundary hang out all willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to say something, but I don't know how. Let me just dump on you.
I was going to say, I'm kind of in that same spot myself with another friend of mine. But I think the other thing too is you can't be afraid to reset those boundaries or try to, and just be honest, be like, hey, that was not nice what you said. And I did not like that. And then you didn't even understand. Like you said that my outside face was showing my inside emotions, but you didn't even stop to think that what you said, but also you can't expect them to understand. You also have to be see, the other thing too is you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So if they don't know what they did wrong or whatever, then you can't be you can explain to them what they did wrong. Right. And then you can be like, please don't do that. Whatever. And then that's when you can set the boundary. That's how you do that, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm going through the same thing.
Yeah, that's good. Not good. I didn't mean that it's good you're going through that.
I know.
That was good advice.
No, I know what you meant. It's just one of those things where it's when you're in a friendship with somebody who long enough and they cross a certain line, mm-hmm. and you're just like, I don't know, this hasn't happened. This has never happened. Now, how do I do this? You just have to be brutally honest with yourself and be like, I'm going to have to redraw these. I'm going to have to redraw this line right quick because you jumped over this line.
Blew it out.
Yeah,
of
you
the water.
literally just
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I'm currently like struggling with that with one of my friends because after several years of friendship, we just kind of, I think the lack of a better term was we just kind of got content with how we were doing things, and it wasn't the correct way of doing things at all. Like it was completely different with what we had done in the past. And instead of like telling each other and asking questions, we just waited for it to fester, and then we just blew up at each other. And instead, yeah, and that's one of those things that it's like that's never happened before, ever. It's after several years of friendship, all of a sudden,
There is something in the water.
yeah, all of it, like after several years of friendship, all of a sudden, like we are having like this knockdown, drag out civil war.
Yeah.
When it could have been solved if we had just said X, Y, and Z, had a communication.
Oh, man, that is...
And that was, and that's our biggest problem is we don't communicate like we used to. And it's a struggle in its own right, because after several years of friendship, you just start it's not that you don't necessarily start accepting things. You stop realizing that you don't realize that things are, yeah, you don't realize that things are changing, and they're not changing for the better. And then you don't realize it until one of you decides to blow up at the other, and vice versa. And then you're like, had no clue about that, had no clue you felt that way. Okay.
Gosh, I fear that's where I'm headed.
I mean, and sometimes, and you know, and the sad part is sometimes that's okay, and that's good. Because also, and I hate to say this, but also when they do that, that gives you full right to do the same thing back. And I hate doing that, because it's like, but at the same time, it's like, all right, we're doing this now. All right, let me just go ahead and, you know, you want to fire you fired the first shot. Let me go ahead and fire the second one. And then we'll have a nice little civil war until, you know, until the other one realizes that, you know, this is stupid, you know, which is really what it boils down to. Is like the whole thing. When you it's just so stupid. That's what it is. Like the things that we got upset about, and the things we argued about, or that we had it out about, it's just so petty and so stupid. And well, okay, it's not stupid, because your anger is your anger and your hurt is your hurt. You don't want to minimize what they felt or how they're feeling, right? But at the same time, you don't want to sit there and just like take the brunt of you don't want to take the brunt of the assault, because you're like, no, I'm not the only one who's at fault here. You know, that's the other thing too, is you also have to be able to accept, like, you're right, you're 100% right, but I'm not the only one at fault here, and then be willing to stand your ground on things. And if for lack of a better term, if you become at an impasse, you're at an impasse. I mean, like I said, that stuff kind of happens, and it's very, very difficult to navigate. And I'm sorry for those of you out here that are listening to this, and I'm being incredibly vague with what I'm saying. But you just have to think about it and be like, I am a doormat for absolutely nobody. And at the end of the day, you will not wipe your feet to get to your next destination on me. Sometimes that's the way.
That's a good one.
Sometimes that's the way it feels. That's, you know, and that's probably a.
Don't know if you noticed, but I could not roll my eyes harder.
Yeah, yeah. You are not gonna wipe your feet on me so that you feel better. That's not how this is gonna work. And you just have to be able to be like, all right, if that's what we're doing, that's what we're gonna do. If you want to have a knockdown, drag out, we can do so, right? And then, you know, I've also had it in my mind that if this person does talk to me again, or if they decide that they're okay or whatever, I'm just gonna be like, listen, we can talk about this, but we're not gonna yell, we're not gonna scream, we're not gonna fight. We're gonna talk to this like civil human beings, like we have been for our entire lives, and we're gonna get past this. Because if you're angry with me, I understand. I'm angry with me, right? I'm angry that I made you feel that way, and that you had that decision. But also, I want you to understand that you should have told me something, and then we can talk about this, and we're gonna move on. How we're gonna move on? No freaking idea.
I'm gonna make a t-shirt and put it on our TikTok shop that says, I'm not a doormat.
I am a doormat for absolutely nobody.
I am a doormat for absolutely nobody.
And for those of you who have no clue, because you know, we were talking about I steal stuff all the time. I stole that from wrestling.
Oh,
there was
are we gonna be sued?
No.
Absolutely no.
You would have to dig pretty deep unless you're a massive wrestling fan.
All right, so that kind of leads into be honest but not brutal. Tell them the truth when they need to hear it, like we just talked about, but with kindness and tact. So that being said, do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
This is the one that we were talking about earlier. So don't flirt with their crush or ex unless given explicit permission. It's usually a no-go zone. That should be on a t-shirt.
For this one, we were talking when we were sorry. We were for guys, that's absolutely 100%. Don't do that. If you know that you're one of your guys, which one of your friends is after that other girl, don't do it. You need to let that slide. You need to just leave that alone. That is an absolute no-fly zone because that's not fair. Now, like I said, if you don't know, in my opinion, if you don't know what's going on and they don't tell you and you end up going out with this other person, I'm sorry, but you should have said something. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
But if something's going on with this other person and they're like, hey man, this is what's going on. Or if you're connecting with this ex or this crush or whatever. Well, hold on. The ex thing, yeah, absolutely not. That is a no-fly zone. Don't ever do that. Well, I mean, I wouldn't. But then again, I don't have any of my friends' exes that hit me up, so I wouldn't know, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I just mean the friend that reintroduced me to Colin, they had a fling. They didn't actually date, but they had a fling. And I was like, are you sure about that? Like, is this okay? And she's like, yeah, it's great. And then 12 years later, here we are.
Yeah. See, that's great. But
she did get drunk one night and ask me, like, she was
careful now.
She was like,
I know where this is going.
I sometimes regret like letting you and not exploring things for myself, and I didn't know how to
hold on,
navigate that. So I was like,
with your said husband, piss off. Sorry, you made a decision and you have to stick with it. Not you, them.
I don't even know if she remembers that conversation.
She probably doesn't. If we're talking about who we're talking about, this is the same. This is the same person that admits that. Well, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Thank you. I'm glad because you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna let that one go. If I was married and I had a friend of mine who ever said that to me, it rocks. Off is the direction you can. You know what? That you made that decision, and when you made that decision, you brought that upon yourself. Don't bring that to my attention. I don't care. I hate to be that way, but it's like, no.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. That probably sounds very probably sounds really rude or really bad, but at the same time, it's like, huh?
I felt bad about it.
Yeah, well, exactly. How am I supposed to feel about that? Right? No, don't ever admit that to me because yeah, you made that decision. Actually, no, wait, hold on. You made that mistake. You decided to go a different route. And now you're sitting here admitting to me that you want what I have. Kick rocks. Leave me alone. That would make me so. Oh my god, that would make me so mad. No, never mind. Next one.
Okay, so wait. So did you cover everything you wanted to on it?
Well, no, I was about to go on a tangent about this same person, but we don't need to do that.
No, we don't. No go zone. So.
Oh yeah, we were going to cover because there was another one about. Because I was asking about like female friends, like on the opposite spectrum, on the opposite side. So like if you've got a friend who's single, and how do we were talking about this?
Explain.
I'm trying to figure out how I explain this. You're like, oh, that's a good point, and now I forgot what it was. Because you're like, oh, that's a good idea. We should talk about that.
Oh, I should have wrote it down. All right, well, let's jog our memories. So
we
tell them the truth. No, unless given explicit permission. Okay, so so if you're friends with a girl and you're saying her friends are single, is that a no-go zone?
Yeah, should I be given explicit permission from this friend to pursue that?
I think the answer is yes.
Or should I be asking that person to be like, hey, can you help me out with this one? And then you can get the dirt and be like, no, you don't want that.
I think the answer is yes to both of those options.
So should you should it be better? Would it be better to ask? Be like, hey,
yeah,
can you? I would be more inclined to be like, hey, can you kind of help me out with?
Unless you just accidentally, by some fate of the stars, meet
this person without them. That's not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is completely different. It's like I met you through them, and then all of a sudden they messaged me, and we're going out tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's different. But if it's like,
that's totally different.
but if it's like you out with your friend, you out with your girl, with your friend, your female friend, and you're like, hey, your friend was really cute. Can you kind of help me out with that? And then it's like, it's one of two ways. It's like, no, you don't want to go you don't want any part of that. Or I will do my best.
That is how I feel as a person. If you were asking me, if we were in this situation right now, I would want you to ask me, because if you pick the one friend in the group that's like not good for you, I would be upset that you didn't ask me about it, and then they end up hurting you or whatever. Right. Not that I would say like
you would lay out what you're like. Hey, this is what
I would not.
This is what you're getting into.
You.
This is what you're getting into.
Exactly. I would be like, hey, this is the situation. Tread lightly.
Guys need more friends like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you, ladies, if your guy friend is single, help him tremendously. If you're if you're married and you have single guy friends, help them. Because for the love of God, we have no clue what we're doing.
Well, we need to go out in the wild.
What?
I can't wing woman if there's no women around.
All right, that's true. Okay, now I see what you're saying. I was like, no, we don't need to go out in the wild because you're married? The fuck?
No.
Like, don't bring your husband because then it's just going to look weird.
He's better at it than I am, so you would want him there.
I'm fairly certain he's better at it than you are. No offense.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because your husband has no problem like saying anything. It doesn't matter what it is. He's just going to be like, oh,
Yeah, that's him.
God bless him for it.
Someone has, like that lady on our comments when he responded to
that was the funniest thing ever, because she just wrote this whole like spiel about how she felt, and he just responded, wow, lady.
Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, so defend them in their absence. If someone talks bad about them, shut it down, stand up for them. Yes, I run into this quite frequently because my friend is not necessarily, or one of my friends is not necessarily like the favorite for this other group of friends that I sometimes hang out with. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to say something, then count me out. If they're not here, you're talking bad.
Right. I'm a pretty big proponent of this.
Josh says this is big for me too.
Yeah, I am a pretty big proponent of this because I'm also one of those guys who wants all the facts before you start laying into one of my before you start laying into one of my friends, right? Just because I am also one of those people that I also see the good in a lot of people. I'm not like blinded by it, but I'm also one of those things where it's like, I think like I haven't heard that and I've never seen that, so I'm gonna choose not to believe you. Mm-hmm. So we're not gonna do this.
Man, and there are some people that will just like talk nonsense, and then you're like,
that makes no sense about what. Yeah, that makes no. You're looking at them going, everything you just said makes zero sense, and I've never seen that before, so I'm going to choose not to believe you until I see it from my own. One of my closest friends. That is definitely the definitely one of those people that I don't necessarily have to defend them when they're not here, but people will say some unruly things about them, and I'm like, no. Absolutely not. They're like, I'm just like, you have no clue what you're talking about. That's not what this is. You just need to relax. And first of all, don't put them in that category because that's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm one of those people, like, I have no problem being wrong. It is what it is. But this friend, I've known this person for 15 years, and you're trying to tell me something completely different than what I've seen. No, you can kick rocks until I see it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 9, give them space when needed. Good friends know when to check in and when to back.
That is true, but you also need to tell them you need space, because then you get into that whole ghosting territory by accident type situation.
Yeah, but also let them know when you've had enough space too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because as overthinkers, we'll just be like, oh, well, they'll just reach out when they're done, when they will kind of expect you to read their mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
like, again, with this
3 months will go by.
Yeah, with this other friend, we had this knockdown drag out after 2 months of not talking to each other. Mm-hmm. We said our piece, and then I remember reaching out after a couple of weeks, or maybe a week or so, and then they responded back, and then I was like, okay, well then, and they didn't, there's no telling if they're still anger or frustration or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, I don't know what you're feeling, so I'm just going to leave this alone.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you'll tell me you're still feeling angry. I don't know. I hope you would. Because you're like, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm sitting here going like, I am not angry at you at all. You said your piece. I said mine. There's nothing wrong with what happened. Right? Like I'm one of those people that I'm just like, listen, I have no problem arguing or having that fight, because at the end of the day, my perception of our friendship is not going to change unless you give me a reason to change it. And you didn't give me a reason to change it. You just got mad at me because of things that were left unsaid.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about that. Are we done talking about it? Okay, cool. Let's move on. That's kind of to me, that's how it is. But yeah, give them space when they need it. And then also, if you ask for that space, you need to tell them, please stop giving me space.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
be like, hey, we need to talk.
I'm good.
Or I'm good. I'm good. Let's, I thought about this. Let's talk about this, or whatever, do something.
Yeah.
But don't just kind of sit there and just kind of let it, like in the eighth year, waiting for one of you. Like I sent my friend this message, like the friend that I was having issues with. We hadn't talked in a week. We said our piece. We hadn't talked in a while. And I sent them a message and said, I was like, I don't know if you're still angry or if or if we're playing this stupid game of chicken to see who's going to cluck at the other first.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. If you're still mad, I understand. But if not, hey. And then they responded with how they responded, and then I was like, okay, understood. Feel better, and good luck. They had a lot going on. They weren't really good. They were busy, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, good luck and feel better. And then that was me going, all right, well, ball's in your court. Essentially, that's not fair for me to do that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're busy. Tell me when you're not busy, and then we'll go from there. I don't know.
That's that. Yeah, just tough but important.
Yeah.
Don't ghost without a reason. So that kind of goes into
Mm-hmm.
the same. If you need distance, communicate instead of disappearing, which we kind of just covered. Number 11, laugh at their jokes, even the bad ones. It's part of the job description. 100%.
Yeah, you can laugh at the jokes, but then tell them they're bad. It'd be like,
yes,
because you're like, I'm not laughing at how funny that was. I'm laughing at how bad that was.
They need to know.
They need to know, exactly. Because like they could tell this joke in like one of their like you'd be like, first of all, don't tell that joke in another group of friends. Don't tell that joke because it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work out in your favor. Find a better one.
The last one, kind of funny, number 12, tell them when they have food in their teeth. A true friend saves them from public embarrassment. Okay.
This one is completely true. And I will also add, there are multiple layers to this one as well.
Extend it past something. Anything.
Yeah. At any point in time, if I've got bats in the cave, you need to tell me.
Absolutely.
Like if their hair is wonky, you need to fix it. If their tie, if they're not dressed appropriately, like if they're getting ready to go out with whoever on a date or going to go meet a girl, you're like, what the are you doing? No. Fix that.
No.
We need to, no. Talk about this for a second. You need to be comfortable with helping them with their appearance.
Yes.
It's not your responsibility, but at the same time, it's like they don't need to go out in public and be like having spinach in their teeth or boogers hanging out of their nose. It's just another thing. It's like, hey, and it's not just for dating and just going out in public in general, but also like this also pertains to like girls who have guy friends that are getting ready to go on a date. No. You girls need to do the same thing with their guy friends as they do with their girlfriends. And I don't think that happens enough. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it's like, what are you wearing? What are you thinking about? What are you doing? All this other stuff. Girls need to ask that question because guys have I have no clue what I'm doing. So like, if they were like, if I was getting ready to go out and somebody was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's your plan? What are you doing? And they're like, absolutely not. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to wear. This is how we're going to do this. Because it goes back to, we've talked about this video before. It's one of my favorite videos. This guy introduced his guy friend to his best girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And then after they were done, she was getting ready to leave and she grabbed him by his shirt and said, I like that bitch. And if you this up, I'm going to break your arms. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye. And then left. Girls need to do that. So on both ends of the spectrum, It needs to be, and I know I keep equating this to dating, but at the same time, it's just like, it's that we're in right now. We're in the, like, this is the setting that we're in. It's like, you're a girl, you're a woman. Sorry. I'm sorry. We're 33 years old. I don't like, you're a girl.
Hey, I am not 33 yet. Thank you.
You're not that far behind me. Anyway,
I have
sorry.
a couple months.
Okay, fine. You got a couple of months. Okay, fine. You're 32. I'm 32 years old. Whatever. You're a woman. Sorry. So wait, hold on. No. I'm not gonna get butchered for calling, because I got in trouble for saying girl instead of woman.
I really was thinking about this, and I kind of think it's the one thing I could chop it up to is it's kind of a Southern thing if you think about it.
It is. That's as far as like just saying girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also me coming at it from a 15-year-old boy's perspective of, I'm talking to a girl. This is the best it could get for me,
Yeah.
Or I'm next to this girl. You know what I'm saying? That was my perspective on. That's why I said that. Like, I would never refer to like, that's a grown ass girl.
I don't know. It's 2025, Dylan. They are called women.
No shit. Thanks, Doc. Breaking new ground there, Copernicus.
Yes, I am a woman. But
thank God we got that established.
I don't know, it makes me feel older somehow. Like
when they say this woman hit on me or whatever, or this woman is. And I also found
I'm being called that. If I'm being called, and not that girl makes me
younger,
yeah, you know what I mean. But I don't know. Just strange that way.
There's a caveat to that for me though, because in one of my because everybody knows that I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes nut. I love Sherlock Holmes. In one of his books, in all of his books, he doesn't refer to Irene Adler as Irene Adler. He refers to her as that woman. So in that term, the reason I don't say woman is because it's like that woman. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that woman hit on me, or so it's like
negative.
It kind of sounds like a negative connotation, or like, so it's like this girl was talking to me. It's just, and it's just easier to say, I guess, if that makes sense. But anyway, but yeah, back to what I'm saying. Yes, you need to help. Everybody needs to help them with their appearance, no matter what it is, because some of us don't even go out in public with the way we're dressed. Sometimes I don't know. I'm spitballing because I know I could use.
Don't be afraid to.
Because I could use the help.
Interesting.
Lean on your girlfriends.
Yeah.
Guys.
But that's what I was gonna say. Don't be afraid to like ask them to FaceTime you then if you want them to check their outfit. Like all these things that you've almost got to initiate to let them know it's okay to have that relationship with you.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying, like, in general, like since we're on the subject of appearance, like I feel like I'd also feel like most guys are not be willing to ask for that guidance as well. But I'm like, no, you need to, because there's certain things you need to understand. Things are different, but lean on your married friends, because obviously they know what the hell they're doing. They got there, yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that, because I feel like that doesn't, I don't feel like that gets utilized enough, if that makes sense. I feel like that's a untapped source of power. Needs to be, that could be, not, I don't want to say exploited, but it's like, you might want to, that's a viable option for you, brother. You might want to talk about that. You might want some help in that department.
And most women will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll be helpful. They will be willing to help you.
And you know what? The other thing too, I think why guys don't do that, and this is probably just me, I don't think guys will reach out to women if they're, you know what? I don't think they reach out to the single women. Which I don't think.
They still want to create a.
Because there could possibly be an element there, right? Which honestly, that's a nice guy tactic that is a no-no. So don't do that, because that just means that you're doing things to get their attention, or you're seeking their, what is it? You're being a false nice guy. So yeah, you definitely want to like reach out to the married friends first, because they've been there, they've lived it, and they obviously, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the single ones are definitely probably going to help you a lot more, because they're out in the wild, I guess, if that makes sense. But don't exclude the single ones, because if it was going to happen, it would have happened a long time ago, my friend. So if you guys, you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense? So like, if you're a guy out there listening to me, and you've got like single friends that are girls or whatever that, you think you might have a chance with, it would have happened a long time ago. So not saying like move on and be like, but if you're like needing the guidance from you want this the guidance from your single girlfriends that you think you have a chance with, ask for it. Because if like I said, if it was gonna happen, it would have happened a long time ago. If just look at it like this, and I'm probably gonna get butchered for this, that's their fault, not yours. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of my perspective on that, because I feel like guys won't do that because of they don't want to tell this person that they're unavailable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm gonna ask this person, but not this person because they're single and I still kind of have a thing for them. But don't do that. Just regardless of the guidance and who they are, ask for it, because like I said, if it was gonna happen before, it would have happened a long time ago. And also not right now doesn't mean never. That's another thing too. And that's it's probably like wishful thinking or whatever, but leave it like that and just kind of continue living your life. So sorry, I kind of got on a soapbox about that one, because I just sometimes feel that you put way too much emphasis, the guys put way too much emphasis on not exploiting the single girl tactics that are out there in the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could benefit from that. Just because they're single and you had a thing for them doesn't mean you can't help you navigate.
Yeah.
Sorry, that actually popped into my head, and I'm just like, oh, well, that's why guys don't do that, because of X, Y, and Z.
It's a good one. It's good. It's good information.
Maybe.
All right, let's jump into our game. It's called Overthinking, Overthink or Nah.
Okay.
So these are hypothetical friendship scenarios, and we have to decide if it's worth overthinking or if it's just in your head. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the first one, your friend watched your Instagram story but didn't reply to your text.
Don't care.
You don't care?
Nope.
Oh, that would
I could give
crazy.
two flying you-know-whats, because I'll tell you this. If sometimes your social battery...
Overthinking. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes your social battery runs out. Just because your social battery runs out doesn't mean you're not doom scrolling. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's two different... You see what I'm saying? So
that's a good point.
Think about it. You're disconnecting for the evening, and you're not going to text your friend back because you're like, I'm going, but you're still going to be on... We're all guilty of this.
You're disassociating.
Yeah, and you're going to be on social media and do this stuff like that. So I think that's overthinking.
Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Okay, cool. I was like, you didn't even give me an answer.
Well, I don't know. In the beginning, I was like, okay, yes, overthinking. 100%.
It depends on I just feel like it depends on
the text that was sent.
It depends on the context of the situation, but a lot of times it's an overthinking situation.
All right, number 2,
don't give them that power.
You wave at a friend in public and they don't wave back.
Most of your friends are blind and they're out in public.
We're 30.
Yeah, I was saying most of your friends are blind and they have a hard time seeing. They probably didn't see you. Oh, overthinking, because a lot of times when you waved at this person, you're either you're in a social setting in a club and they're already pissed drunk, or they're just some of your friends are blind, man. Some of them don't wear their glasses because they don't like the way they look. They're okay with not seeing. So they didn't see you because they can't see you. That's my opinion.
I think if it depends on the situation, of course, but I think if it's a blatant, I saw you and I'm looking away.
Okay, if they look at you, yeah. If they look at you and they just turn back away, oh yeah, that's absolutely. That is a one-way ticket to who the do you think you are? I'll give you an example if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay, I was in a few weeks ago. I was in Wiley, and I was at a stoplight. I never go back to Wiley. The only time I ever go back to Wiley is to see my mother. Outside of that, I don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I was at a stoplight, and I saw one of my he's not a very good friend of mine, but I knew him, and he was on the opposite stoplight.
Okay.
And I recognized his face, and I didn't want to do that whole awkward wave thing. You don't want to do that whole thing where you wave at somebody and all of a sudden they turn their face, and then your phone is being disrespectful.
You're good. Keep going.
Okay. You don't want to do that whole thing where you wave and then they turn around and you see their whole face. You're like, oh, that's not who I thought that was. So yes. What I did, and here's the dumb thing that I did. I just I accidentally just kept staring at them until when they turned, we made eye contact, and he looked at me and he went. And then I was like, yeah.
Right,
I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I knew that was. And then I saw him at the pool hall a couple of days later. I was like, hey, man. And he goes, yeah. He goes, small world, right? And I was like, and I was like, it's none of my business. But what were you doing in Wiley? That's my hometown. And never seen you. He goes, I was going home. I was like, oh, no shit. Well, cool. So he was like, yeah, small world. He goes, honestly, I looked across and I saw you. And he goes, but I couldn't tell. But then when we got closer, I was like, no, that's him. And so so again, we kind of, like I said, we saw each other and it was like, oh, hey. So
that is really fun.
It was an interesting turn of events. I was like, oh, wow, small world. But yeah, most of your friends are blind and they don't like the way they look in their glasses. So they didn't see you. Now, if they make direct eye contact and just like turn the other way, we need to have a discussion.
Yeah, that was rude.
Who do you think you are?
Number 3, they started a new group chat and you weren't added.
Don't care. I hate group chats.
Oh my gosh, Dylan.
What do you want? I despise group chats.
I guess maybe that's the boy in you. I think I agree with Josh. It's overthinking because I'm actually guilty of doing this. And my intent of creating a new group chat without a person in it was to
keep them out of it.
Yeah, because I have to discuss like what the heck is being said and is she serious?
Yeah.
So
well, that's different. But like for somebody like me, I despise group chats.
Or he, she, or he, or they.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I despise group chats, and I don't because they don't just turn into, they just become like this whole thing where you're just sharing different things. I just don't like the notifications.
Oh my god.
That's what gets on my that gets on my nerves.
I can't with you.
We're in one group chat.
Yeah, we are.
So, and that one's just for playing pool. So.
Okay, number 4, you send them a funny TikTok and they don't react, but you see them comment on someone else's.
Overthinking. You sent the TikTok. It was meant to be funny. They didn't see it. That's their loss. Sorry about your bad luck.
Yeah, that one will be a knock for me, I think, because I get videos all the time. I don't necessarily react to them.
I don't necessarily
just kind of like laugh to myself. So definitely a no. Number 5, I was like wondering if you invite them to an event and they said they were busy, but then you see them out with other people.
They were busy. They had other plans. It's overthinking. Does that make sense? Or am I reaching?
Overthinking is like you're in this situation. You're overthinking, like, why are they not with me? Why are they with those other people? The no is like, it's not a big deal at all.
Oh, no, sorry. No, my bad. I misunderstood the assignment. My apologies.
It's okay.
That's a no because you invited them. They said they were busy, and then you see them out in public with other people.
And those were their plans.
They were obviously busy.
Yes. And I think maybe I need a little bit more. I agree. In this, like with the limited context I have, that's a no.
Yeah.
But if I had more context and it turns out that they were like, no, I'm doing this, and then they are doing something else, you see them doing something else without you out in public, you know what I mean? Then that is oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's different. But yeah, if you invited them and they said they were busy, that's they're busy right there.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
That's my context on that.
Number 6, they suddenly start calling you dude or bro instead of their usual nickname for you.
Depends on the person, and it depends on
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
Ladies? Well, no, I think this is probably a nah, but
I am guilty.
I know. But there's level. There's layers to this, if that makes sense. So it's a nah because of the context of you're just friends. If it's Colin, for example, if Colin says bro or dude to me, it is what it is. But he doesn't say dude or bro. He calls me other names and other things.
Yes, we cannot.
Yeah, we're not gonna. I can't say what he calls me, which is kind of mean. If you're and the worst part is I answer to that.
If Colin's not being mean to you,
I know something's wrong. Exactly. That means he doesn't love you. I know. But the worst part is I respond.
I know.
He's like, hey, and I'm just like, what? And then it's like, why did I respond to that? But if she's your girlfriend or you're dating, and that hasn't happened before, does that make sense? Like if you're not just friends or there's something more to it than just friends. If that starts happening immediately, that's when things start going downhill. Because it's like, no, I'm not. No, don't say that to me. But if she's your friend and she's always done it that way, it's whatever. It is what it is, right? Like I have a friend of mine, she's a female, and she says bro to me all the time. It's not a big deal for me because that's the way it's been. But if it was other way around, or not the other way around, but if like we were dating and all of a sudden she starts like dropping bro and dude on me, immediate red flag. It's like, oh, well, damn it. That's the equivalent of when you meet somebody and they ask you how tall you are, and then you tell them how tall you are, and they say they don't care. No, bullshit, they care. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, so.
I don't know. I'm guilty of it. So I guess I'm a no on this because
But you say it to me.
I say it to you.
Yeah.
I say it to all my. I feel like I am a better guy friend, like a guy friend, than I am a female friend. If that makes sense. Like I feel like more of like a dude than.
I could see that.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes total sense. No, I am with you 100% on that one.
I've always been kind of tomboy in that way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can totally attest to that 100%. I understand that completely.
I do have my girl moments.
No, you okay. Don't get mad at you. You have more girl moments than you do those dude moments, but you also have more girl moments than most tomboys do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good fucking mesh, because it's like sometimes you get worried about those tomboy girls because you're like, are you like do you want to be? Are you trying to be one of the boys? Because that could go like, see, that's the other thing too, is like you got those girls that want to be one of the boys, and you're like, no, I can't. That's not how this is gonna work. It's just raised differently and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So, but there's a good spectrum. With as far as you are concerned, there's a good mesh of one side or the other. You definitely have your girl moments. We'll put it at that. But then you can flip the script and go the other way. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm not concerned about which way you're headed, because shit. Because then it could be then it becomes kind of weird.
Like a full on,
because there are some of those girls there are some of those ladies that fit in better with the guys, but secretly they could have been a dude. Mm-hmm. And you're like, it gets concerning sometimes. You're like, I don't know how to explain it, because if like all of a sudden they're like, I don't want to have a boys' night with one of my girlfriends, if that makes sense. I don't want to have all my guy friends around and all of a sudden there's one girl. Absolutely not. First of all, that does not work at all. I've watched that in real time multiple times. That does not work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because if she's single.
She's single. Okay. That clarification is needed there. Because I've had several. Because I was the first girl in the group, for lack of better words.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
I paved the way for the future wives, okay?
For who? I'm still checking my watch.
You're like, where's my.
Paved the way for who? Because. I'm kidding. That train will hit the station any time now, I guess.
Dylan.
Maybe. No, you're 100% correct. That's different though, because you were seeing somebody,
absolutely.
You were seeing somebody in our friends group, so it's like, okay, well, it was one of those things where the guys were like, she's obviously not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. So it's like, she's here, she's not going anywhere, and then, like I said, so that's different.
They're lucky it was me. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a fucking fact.
I'm just kidding.
I will attest to that. But yeah, if you want to be one of the boys and you're single, that's not going to work, or you can go out with these guys. I ain't going, because I don't want to see, because we all do stupid shit when women are around. And if it's a group of guys and that one girl, all of them are going to try to impress that girl. That's just the way it is. That's the way it works. I'm guilty of it too, because I've done it before, but I have it within me to be like, this is just going to turn into like stupidity. I don't want to be part of this. So, because again, I've seen it happen. Like, she wants to be one of the boys. I don't want any part of that. It's like, she's coming. She's cool. She might be cool, but we're about to get real stupid here in a second. I'm going to, I'll do one of two things. I will not be a part of it, or I'll sit there and watch the volcano, watch the idiocy go down, because like I said, I don't want to have a boys' night with another woman. It does not work. It just bothers me. Sorry. If that bothers you ladies out there, I'm sorry.
You're about to offend somebody else.
I don't give a flying Listen, I said this beforehand. Controversy creates cash, for one. And two, if you're not making enemies, you're not making money. And I will attest to that.
Okay, number 7, you message them something serious and they react with just a heart or a like. Oh, that drives me.
That drives me up.
That is an overthink.
That's an overthinker, and that drives me up a wall. I can't stand that. I hate that.
And the infamous K.
Oh, yeah.
Your fingers were already typing. Like, why couldn't you just add
Yeah.
the other letters? Overthinking.
My favorite part is when you send them something profound and they do that, and then you're like,
one of these. Oh, it didn't do it.
yeah, it hasn't done it all the whole time. So I don't know if we turned that part off, which thank God we did because that was distracting. What was I going to say? If when they do that type of shit, I hate that so much because it's like, really, I just provided you this profound this thesis or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now I can understand you sending a whole fucking paragraph and they're like, I'm not reading all that. What the hell? I get that. That's completely understandable. I don't do that.
If you take the time to send me a paragraph, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's okay. Okay, you're right. But yeah, I hate the heart thing. And that's honestly, I do. They, and a lot, and you know what? A lot of these things stem from my dating life. Does that make sense? So now I have to expand on this. If I say something, if I give you a nice compliment, or if I text you a nice compliment, or whatever, or something like that, right? Whatever. And all you do is heart. That's when I kind of get mad because I'm like,
okay, but you also have to think about,
yeah, I know.
How would you take the compliment? Would you be able to respond and be like, wow, thank you so much?
Oh, via text message? Oh, I could absolutely respond, thank you. But if you're in my face saying it, oh, dude, I'm gonna fall apart.
Some people,
I'm
just playing devil's advocate.
Absolutely.
Some people, even through text messages, are like, what do I say? If I say thank you, is that too much to be like,
or is that enough?
Is he gonna think that I think that about myself, that I'm super confident or whatever? Like, they're just like super overthinking that. There's also the people that are like, I know. So they'll just heart it.
I know. That's what exactly that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. Unless you heart it and then respond to it, then I'm okay with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I feel like honestly, this is what I feel like that's a cop out. Like you're trying to end the conversation. Does that make sense? Like you heart that and then you don't respond.
Yeah.
That's why okay. That's where
if it ends on a compliment, that's strange. But like if I'm having a conversation with somebody and it's like so glad we hang out, and I'll just kind of like heart it because I don't know what to say after that. You know what I mean?
And that's fine. I don't know. It just feels like it's like, okay, I'm not talking to you. Here's a heart emoji, and then I'm not going to respond to you again.
You're right. It could be used. They can be.
It can be used against you.
Okay, number 8, they always respond fast to other people in the group chat, but take forever to reply to you. I think this one's in the middle, because it could be up to circumstance, or like even just I was looking at my phone when these 3 people were messaging, and then you just happened to message when I put it down, and then I got to work or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an odd. Group, like I said, group chats are. And those are wild.
Yeah.
You can't take anything. You can't take any part of what goes on to heart unless you get people that start arguing mid in that group chat. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then you have to mute the whole damn thing. And then you mute the whole thing, and then you come back to 75 different messages, and you got to play catch up. I hate that. Again, that's why I hate group messages or I don't really hate them, but I despise them because a lot of times they're not just about what's the situation is or what's going on. It's going to be 75 different other things. And then all of a sudden you're like, I got to scroll and play catch up and then figure out, oh, that's where they got mad. And now they're okay. Okay.
It's okay. Okay, number 9, you tell a story and they change the subject mid-sentence. That's kind of an overthinking moment for me.
Oh yeah, it's definitely overthinking. For sure. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of overthinking on that. Sorry.
Especially if it's a conversation or a topic that, overthinking and Matt. Especially if it's a topic that you're particularly either excited for or serious about, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, do you think it's going to rain tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Were we not just having a conversation?
And you're sitting there going like, well, I'll go fuck myself. That's cool too.
I agree. Overthinking and mad.
Despise that. That pisses me off so much. Yeah, overthinking.
Okay, number 10, you notice they deleted an old post that had you in it. If it's the only one, I'm chalking it up to there must have been something else that you wanted off your profile or something else.
Yeah. There's a picture that I'm tagged in with you, myself, and Colin and somebody else on our Facebook, and
You untagged yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I don't want people to think anything about that. I'm
50-50 with this. Josh, do you want to tell us more?
They always. Oh no, I don't. It depends on the context. Like if your relationship is over or whatever, then it goes. It needs to go bye bye. All that shit needs to go bye bye, no matter what.
I was thinking something else, but I think I know what picture you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. If it's, I mean, it just depends on the context of like.
They'll know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you were once in a relationship, if you're in a relationship with this person and then you're no longer, and that they get rid of it or you get rid of it, you don't.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have that shit.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I don't. I think that's a nah for me, because it's like you never know what, like, they could be running out of room. There could be,
If you think everything is fine and then all of a sudden you like are unfollowed, unfriended, like I get that being overthinking.
Yeah, exactly.
But the
one post where it's like, hey,
no.
this was like, there's still people commenting on this 2 weeks later, and then they get rid of it. It's like, yeah, absolutely, because you're following it too. You're like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
No, that's overthinking or no.
Okay, we only have a couple with 5 more. 11, you mentioned hanging out soon and they don't respond at all.
No response is a response. No, I will 100% take that to my fucking grave. If I tell you I want to hang out and you don't respond to me, no response is a response. I don't care how long we've been friends. No, I'm going to, I'm actually both ends of it. I could see an overthink and a nah, but at the same time, the old me would have overthought this. The new me is like, no response is a response. So you have
overthinking.
You have told me, you have given me your response without responding.
Okay, but what about for people like me who are like really bad at even reading my text messages?
You get a pass.
If you know me,
because I know you, you get a pass. I'm just like, she either, whatever happens, happens. If she saw it, she saw it. She didn't.
If you were texting and then you asked them to hang out and then like nothing.
Yeah, if you're going for,
get that.
Yeah, like if you're talking for like 2 or 3, for like maybe an hour or so or whatever, going back and forth, then all of a sudden like, hey, we should get together soon, grab coffee, go for a walk, whatever, and then all of a sudden it's just crickets, and you're like, and then it's like, yeah, you told me everything. You told me everything I needed to know right there. It texted
you first, but then disappeared mid-conversation.
No.
Okay.
Because again, it's one of those things where no response is a response. And if they disappear mid-conversation, you could always just send a follow-up text afterwards, maybe a couple of hours or maybe 2 or 3 hours later, or maybe a day or so later, and then just pick the conversation. I don't know. I still think that is a nah. It just depends on where you're at. Like if it's from a dating perspective, or then that is, again, no response is a response. But if you've been friends for a long time and it's like it disappeared mid-conversation, well, sometimes it happens. So why are you overthinking that, Josh? Why are you overthinking that?
Okay, give me just 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab or actually, do you have the power cord for that?
Yeah. I think you can plug.
Yes, you can.
Oh yeah, into the side. Yeah. I feel like that happens all the time, so I feel like that's an off for me, because I'm like, okay, Josh, they texted you first, but then disappeared mid-conversation. Why are you overthinking? Why are you overthinking it?
Dang it, I don't think it lets me have it on while it's charging. It's okay. Repeat the question again.
What do you think? Okay. This is an off for me. Unless you give me a reason to wonder what the hell, or unless we were talking about something pretty important and then you just disappeared.
You read the question since my mic's not working.
Okay, cool. You laugh at their joke in a group chat, but then they respond to someone else's reaction. Nah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, again, group chats. Go away. You can't. They randomly stop tagging you in memes. Wait, hold on. Yeah, they randomly stop tagging you in memes you used to get all the time.
I think that friendships evolve. So if that was something that you got all the time in the beginning, then it could evolve past that. Like there could be different things that, I think that's a nah.
Yeah, that's a nah. Like, don't make that your only form of communication though. Like if you're just sending funny videos and if you're just sending funny videos to your friend back and forth, and that's how you guys communicate throughout the day or whatever, that bothers me. I don't like that. You can send me a video. You can send me a funny video. We can react. I'll react. But I despise that communication. I like to cop out. if that makes sense.
I tried to get a little bit back.
Okay, we'll keep going.
The last one, number 15. We're the only one who texted in the group chat today and no one responded. It depends on how quickly. If it's been like a full 24 hours and no one responded, I would overthink that they've started a second group chat.
Yeah.
Without me talking about the situation.
Like if they were talking back and forth and all of a sudden you sent something and then they just stopped.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But if you could still hear me when it was plugged in. That was nice. Okay. Thank you, Josh. If you send it during work hours and you're like you just get off of work and no one's responded yet, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
For other people to have enough time to respond or get off work or do whatever they have to do. So.
Yeah, no, that for me that's a no, because again, my problem I don't like group chats unless they serve a purpose. Like for example, my D&D group, we have a group chat that we talk about when we talk about getting together with a start time, and we share different D&D memes in that, right? That's all that group is for. And then every now and then it'll be a couple of other of us who will text individually, but I don't like group chats just for the sake of having a group chat. Does that make sense? Unless, if you're going to have a discussion about something, have the discussion and then end it. Unless it has a unless it has a purpose going forward. Does that make sense?
I guess, yeah.
Well, hold on. You have multiple girlfriends that you're in a group chat with, right?
Yeah, I do.
And you guys talk almost all the time.
Yes.
That's different. I'm not a part of a guy group chat that we talk all the time. So
I totally get that. So for you, it's like, I just want the information. I don't want the fluff.
Yeah. Unless, and that's probably I don't want any of the fluff. I just like, if this is a group chat, like, because it gets so convoluted sometimes. And then all of a sudden, like, you have to start another one because somebody changed their number or something. And you're like, and then somebody responds to the other one and that gets kicked on. And you're like, now you're trying to figure out which one's the right one. Yeah. If I'm in a group chat, it's for a discussion, let's have the discussion. Let's talk about what we're going to do and then move the call forward. And then we'll talk. And then we'll, if you need, if there's something you want to talk about privately, cool. Message me. Yeah. That's always been my thing. Like I said, if it doesn't serve a purpose beyond what it was created for, leave me out of it.
Gosh. Okay. This is our last little section. It's called Overthinking Recovery Tips. And I was debating whether or not to cut this out, but I kind of think it's super important. I think what I'm going to do is read this whole thing and then we can kind of talk about each one. There's only 3 of them. We're hoping it won't take more than, 10 or 15 minutes to discuss this. Okay. But I just think they're so important. Yeah. So the first tip we have is how to stop spiraling. Oh my God, let me start over. Hang on. How to stop spiraling when you start overthinking a friendship situation. So we have a reality check. Ask yourself, do I have actual proof or am I making assumptions? Just like how we went through all of those scenarios a second ago and we were like, well, what about, like, do I have everything I need to judge this or do I need more information? Right. Distraction mode. If you catch yourself spiraling, do something that engages your brain. Listen to music, go for a walk, or text another friend about something unrelated. Don't pull them into your drama.
Guilty of that.
Flip the perspective. If the roles were reversed, would you have meant anything by it? Example, would you post an Instagram before replying to a text? Like one of those scenarios we just had. And then the last thing is set a time limit. Give yourself 10 minutes to overthink it, then move on. If it's still bothering you later, it might be worth addressing. Such powerful tools in there. And the one thing that kind of stood out to me personally is a lot of the times Colin and I will have conversations and I'll look at him and he'll see the way that my face like falls or is over analyzing, overthinking, seeing my gears turning, and he goes, if you took that bad, I meant it the other way. I am not trying to, because he knows that anything he says, I'm immediately going to be like, what did he mean by that? Yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you definitely don't need to spiral. That's for certain. Because if you start spiraling, it just gets worse from there. Like I've said before, some things are just way too important to take seriously. Friendships are way too important to take seriously to an aspect, right? You need to take your friendship seriously because those are your friends. Those sometimes last longer than your family. That's true. But don't take everything so damn seriously, because sometimes it's not even that big of a deal. And sometimes bad things happen and arguments happen and things get pushed to the limit. But two things. One, understand your friend, and two, stand your ground.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself if something happens. Now, if you have that conversation and you say your piece, they say theirs, move on. Don't ever bring it up again, because then you're holding a tally. Don't ever bring anything up ever again. You said your piece, count to 3, and move on.
If you've already discussed it and it's in the past, and you said your piece, it's not fair to keep.
It's not fair to keep tallies on it and be like, I didn't like it when you did X, Y, and Z. Now, that being said, if that conversation happened several years ago and you can't remember it, then you need to be honest. Be like, I don't remember having that conversation, and I'm sorry, but please regale me and let me know how that conversation went. Because a lot of times when you're friends with somebody, things can change after 15 years and you don't remember having that conversation or whatever. Oh, yeah. And then it's like, hey, even if like we had this conversation before, it's like, okay, I understand that, but that was several years ago. I don't remember the result of that conversation. Obviously it was different. Obviously it wasn't, whatever. Can we talk about it for just a couple seconds so that I can refresh my memory and then I can move on? Yes. Don't harp on any of the crap. Just let them speak, you speak, and then move on. It's too important to take seriously.
Tip number 2, the importance of just asking instead of assuming is so huge. The, hey, I just want to check rule. A simple, hey, I noticed X, Y, and Z and I wanted to check in, are we good, can clear up 99% of overthinking. People get busy. Sometimes what feels like a snub is just someone being distracted by life, which is also huge. And then tone check. If you're nervous about asking, voice message them or call instead of texting to avoid misinterpretations. Also huge.
Hey, I just wanted to check rule. I don't do that a lot because I am not very good at signals or understanding a lot of hints or whatever. So I just take things with a grain of salt and kind of move on, unless you tell me, hey, you did this and it really bothered me. Cool. Let's talk about that. The whole get busy thing, the whole people are busy thing, I know that better than anybody. Some of my friends are the busiest people in the world. So that's why I'm not the first. That's why I'm usually not a person to initiate the conversation, because it's like, if I send this message and they're too busy to respond, they might not get to it, or they might not even see it. So it's like, let me just allow them to, come back to me, or not come back to me, but to initiate the conversation when they're not busy, so that way I can, move forward. And I respect the fact that you're busy. Tone check, that's a huge one. I have gone from sending text messages to sending voice messages just because it's easier for me. I don't like, again, I'm one of those people, I don't like being on the phone for a long period of time. The message thing is usually easier for me because I can send the message, put my phone down, go do something else, come back and read and listen to the message or whatever. I can't do that with a phone call. I just feel like you just get too tied up into a phone call, and you have to like literally say where you are and not do anything, and be like, but again, sometimes you need to have that phone call, which is fine. But 90% of the time, you can send a voice message. That's gotten so much easier for me, because it's like,
oh my God, I'm sorry.
Or you just threw a mic. Sending the voice message is a lot easier, because then you can get your tone and your inflection through, and they can respond in kind, or they can't. So I prefer the voice message. Also, it's gotten to a point where, like, if I'm voice messaging somebody and we're just going back and forth like that, and then I'm like in public, or if I'm with my friends, I'll send a message like, hey, I'm out in public, or I'm with my friends. Can we switch this for us? I'm just gonna, you can still send your voice messages, but I'm gonna respond in text. Yeah, because you never know. You don't want to put your business out there either. So.
Text it can be. I've started doing the check-ins, like I really have, because I will overthink and I can't prevent it. So if the only way to grow is to force myself to be like, just ask. then it's still hard because then sometimes that text will go unanswered, or they won't answer their phone, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
I'm terrible. I'm terrible about the check-in text. Unless another friend brings something to my attention, then I don't have a problem doing it. But if I don't, like if we haven't spoken in a while and you said you were busy, and it's like, okay, you're busy, got a lot of stuff going on, cool, and you know me for I'm always available when whenever. So message me, or whenever you're not busy, message me. But then and then it goes on 2 months, and it's like you're still busy, so a lot of stuff going on. So it's like, all right. Yeah, I need to do better about the check-in text. But at the same time, it's just like, I noticed this, but yeah, don't be afraid to do the check-in text. I should definitely be doing that a lot more these days. Sometimes you just, but then again, it's just one of those things where it's like beforehand, it's like they said they were busy and they got a lot of stuff going on, or they got X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, I'm going to, if I find something funny, I might send it to you, but I won't expect a response. Does that make sense? It's like if I find like a funny video or whatever, it's like, you said you're busy, I'm going to send this to you because it made me think of you and it's funny, but I won't expect a response. You said you're busy. And if you respond to me, cool. If not, then I know you're busy. And then you don't tell me when you're not busy. That's another thing. But then again, are we good? Could probably save a lot of problems.
Yeah. Okay. Our last tip number 3, when overthinking is actually helpful. So we've got gut feeling versus anxiety. Sometimes overthinking is your brain trying to tell you something. If a pattern keeps happening, example, a friend constantly excluding you, it might be worth addressing. Self-reflection. Overthinking can help you recognize your own insecurities and triggers so you can work through them. Preventing awkwardness. Thinking before you speaking or text can save you from saying something you might regret, which is true. I can't tell you how many times I have wrote and erased.
Oh, yeah.
Wrap up. Sorry. Hang on. I don't think that was meant to be. Oh, I understand. I'm sorry. My brain like shut down. Wrap up your thinking with something relatable. So at the end of the day, most of us overthink because we care, but friendships shouldn't feel like puzzles you have to solve all the time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, you shouldn't have to, just because. So I'm going to start with that first one, or with that last one, because
Okay.
if you're friends with somebody for a very long time, it is not your job to understand all of their feelings. Most people might disagree with me on that. It's not your job to understand all of their feelings or put puzzle pieces together, because at the end of the day, you have to be responsible. You have to be responsible for yourself and your own happiness. You can't be responsible for your friend's happiness. But if they bring it to your attention, then you can be responsible. Does that make sense? Like, I just feel like just because you're not talking to me, or something we had, like you feel like we had a weird conversation, or I said something or whatever, because 90% of the time that's just going to go, I'm just going to forget any of that ever happened. And I'm just going to move on because it was a conversation it was had, right? Mm-hmm. It is not my job to put pieces together for you to understand that you're unhappy. Does that make sense? Because you should be able to tell me that I did something wrong.
If they can see it.
If they can see it. Exactly. But if you, again, that just goes back to, I don't know what I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So if I don't know that something I did bothered you, or it just sent you into a downward spiral, or it triggered you, then I'm not going to focus on that, because I don't know that it bothered you. Now, if you tell me, hey, this bothered me, yeah, have a conversation about it. But yeah, just because you're friends with somebody for a long time doesn't necessarily mean you know everything about them. Sometimes, especially when you're friends from a distance, or you just have to be willing to put more effort into being more communicative. Mm-hmm. That's my thing about that last part. You both have to have a conversation, and you both have to be willing to be like, I don't want to read your mind. I'm not supposed to read your mind. Just be my friend and tell me what happened.
It's got to be a two-way communication. It can't just be.
Yeah. It works both. Yeah, and a lot of friends are guilty of, saying the phone works both ways. But in the type of scenario that we're talking about, when something is wrong and only one person recognizes that it's wrong, the other person needs to be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why I've been kind of distant. This is why I've been a little different or whatever. Cool. Let's talk about that. Preventing awkwardness. I am so bad about this. It's not even funny because I will immediately say what I'm thinking. And a lot of times if it turns into a civil war in a friendship, right? I will tell you everything that's on my mind. And I will for lack of a better term, I will turn this microphone into a pipe bomb. Sorry. That's just the way I was wired. And sometimes, again, yeah, and I feel so bad about that sometimes. But again, that's just when it turns into, again, a knockdown, drag out, just flat out argument of obviously you're angry with me, and a simple conversation is not going to help, and you're going to continue to be angry with me. And I also match energies. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard not to, but at the same time, it's like you're coming at me very aggressively and you're yelling at me and you're very angry with me. Guess what?
Okay.
Now you've made me angry, and this is going to get blown out of proportion, but guess what? Here we are. So yeah, I will gladly have no problem doing that. Now, I won't tell other people about that, and I won't it'll stay between us because that's our business. But I will gladly just go scorched earth if I have to, if you make me feel that way, because it's not fair for you to be able to do that and not me. I'm just putting that out there. The gut feelings versus anxiety thing, can't tell the difference between the one or the other. I can use my anxiety as a superpower sometimes, or I can use my gut feelings. Take that back. So I trust my gut a lot of times, and I will go with it with anything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, but then again, if my gut's not telling me you're mad and you're mad, tell me you're mad.
You've got to fill in the gaps there.
Yeah, there.
I get that.
And it's also easier because I'm a very analytical person. So if I can see your face while you're talking to me and I can understand, then I can easily put pieces together. It's not about you yelling at me. It's just a matter of, now I get what's happening here, right? I said this and now I can see the look on your face. Shit. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
So
I know that they can feel the same gut feeling and anxiety, but I think in the moment you'll understand if you're about to shut down and have a complete panic attack, or if you're like, you know what, this situation shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
So I think whatever your internal monologue is happening can help you distinguish between gut feeling and anxiety.
Yeah, because a lot of times, when you're having those, I keep saying civil wars because sometimes that's what it feels like when you're friends with somebody for a long time. It feels like you're in a war, and and then sometimes you feel like nothing is off limits because you're like, you don't want to think that way because you feel like nothing is off limits because you're like, we've gotten to this point. Why have we gotten to this point? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now we're going to be at war until we figure this out. If you feel like nothing is off limits whenever you're having that argument, you have to have that. I was hoping mine would catch up with my mouth, but it didn't.
You have to still carry yourself. Well, that's what I was taking from it. If you are having these conversations and it's blowing up, you're having a civil war.
Oh yeah.
You still have to carry yourself with the dignity.
Oh yeah.
Allow yourself to.
Oh yeah, you still have to stand your ground. You still need to.
I think I'm dead again.
Oh yeah. You still need to give yourself the benefit of a doubt of, this is still stupid, and why are we fighting about this?
Mm-hmm.
And you can say that, yeah, this is 100, and just look at it and be like, this is 100. Just be like, this is stupid. Why are you yeah, you're mad? I'm sorry that you're mad. I understand you're mad, but we're arguing about this. This is stupid. Can you please tell me what you want me to do? Can you please tell me how you want me to fix it, and let me fix it instead of letting me try to figure it out? That's my thing. Stop. Don't make me read your mind. Don't ghost me because you think I'm going to understand what's happening. Tell me what you want me to do. And if that other person tells you that and they do it, vice versa, then great. If they don't do it, then you just need to re-examine the boundaries of your friendship, right? And just be like, well, there's just lost certain privileges with me. I'm sorry. And then just kind of go from there. That sucks. But again, this goes back to being responsible for your own fucking happiness.
Yeah.
And if that is keeping you from being happy.
And what you said in the beginning, liking yourself, accepting
yourself.
Yeah,
liking and accepting yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you also, regardless of the situation, you're not a doormat for anybody. You are a doormat for absolutely nobody. You have to stand your ground. And if their actions do not follow what you're asking for, then you need to re-examine and redraw those boundaries. So, yeah.
Are you talked out yet?
I've been talked out the entire time. No, I'm kidding. I felt like I've talked way too much. I think we are officially done with this episode. Yeah.
2 hours.
2 hours and 45 minutes. I really hope this doesn't become a trend. Unless you guys want it to be a trend. I mean, we can make it a trend.
We're not trying to go this long.
No, no. Yeah, we're definitely not trying to go this long. Sometimes we just go on these fields. But some of these topics that keep coming up, I mean, it's easy to get on
tangents
and tangents about the same thing. So yeah, I think we are going to wrap this up and then take a small break and hop over to TikTok Live and try to be a lot quicker with that.
Yeah.
We
will be.
If you stuck with us this long, thank you. We appreciate it very much. Again, being at 2, almost 3 hours is not our goal. It's not something we try to do. I'm sorry, I'll stop. I was fidgeting with something, and Maria gave me the look. So I'm gonna stop doing that.
Well, your microphone picks it up.
I know. My microphone picks up everything.
I can tell when I'm listening back when you took a drink because I can hear your bottle going.
I'm gonna cover my mic.
No, you're good. It's fine. I'm just saying your mic picks up everything.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. So this is not our goal to go 3 hours, but if you stuck with this long, if you listen with us this long, we appreciate it very much. So we are going to hop over to TikTok Live and hope you join us there.
Alrighty.
Bye.